All right, so today we're working on section 415. I remember we're trying to get up to section 417, so we need two more, one tomorrow, one on Thursday, and then we're done with everything we have to do for the first semester. But this right here is long division, okay? Now, long division usually is used for bigger problems than this. These are kind of small, but they're usually used for some bigger problems. But a couple things that you guys need to remember, they're on the right side. Okay, you guys should know by now that anything to the 0 power is going to give you a 1. So x to the 0 power, that's equal to 1. Okay, if you're dividing the same variable, so you see x to the m divided by x to the n. So the same variable base, but different powers, right? So like x to the 5th over x to the 3rd. Okay, all you have to do is subtract the powers. So you keep the same base, but subtract the powers. And then the other thing I mentioned is that x is the same as writing x to the 1st, right? So a power of 1, you don't always see it, so sometimes they just write it as x. So those are the three main things that you guys should have from Algebra 1 already in your head, and it'll help you do all this stuff right here, okay? So again, x to the 0 is 1, so if we happen to get a 0, it's going to be a 1. X to the m over x to the n is just x to the m minus n. So you subtract when you divide. And then x is the same as writing x to the 1st. So if you happen to see x to the 1st, I'm just going to write x. Okay? Now, some people like to consider these the easier ones. I actually think they're the harder ones. But, you know, my brain is a little different than yours. So maybe you might see these as being a little bit easier. But all they want us to do is to get the expression 2x to the 4th plus 8x cubed minus 6x and divide that by 2x. Okay? Now, the way I'm going to tell you guys to do it is to just break it apart. Okay? You see how there's 3 terms in the first statement? Write all 3 terms, so 2x to the 4th divided by, I'm going to write 8x cubed divided by, and negative 6x divided by, and then I'm going to divide it by the thing they told me to divide by, 2x. So divide by 2x, divide by 2x, divide this by 2x. So again, I'm getting every term in the first expression, the 2x to the 4th plus 8x cubed minus 6x, and I'm going to divide it by 2x. Now I'm just going to go through the process of doing it. So 2 divided by 2 for the first one, right here. Okay, we're working on this one right here. So 2 divided by 2, that's 1, right? So I'm going to write 1. X to the 4th divided by x to the 1st. What is that? X to the 3rd, right? Because we're supposed to subtract powers. 4 minus 1 is 3. So that's basically x cubed. So good. We know the first term. Let's do the next part. 8x cubed divided by 2x. So 8 divided by 2, that's 4. And then x cubed divided by x to the 1st is x to the 2nd, right? So there we go. We're done with that one. All right, last one. Negative 6 divided by 2, that's negative 3. X divided by x. So that's x to the 1st divided by x to the 1st. That's x to the 0, right? 1 minus 1 is 0. But what's x to the 0? It's 1. So in other words, it just kind of disappears. This is negative 3 times 1, so it's just negative 3. So I'm done with this problem. I just got to write my answer out. So my answers are right here. I'm going to write these out in the order in which I solved them. Okay? So my answer for this is going to be x cubed plus 4x squared. I put plus because it's not negative. And then minus 3. And that's it. You're done. Okay, so x cubed plus 4x squared minus 3. You're done. Now, I know that these are easy to do in a sense. Like you just take a little piece here and divide it. I always call these the harder ones because a lot of times people have a hard time dividing the letters or dividing the numbers. So they struggle more with this than the longer problems. So I've always said like these seem to be harder for some people, even though they're supposed to be easier. So hopefully they're easy for you and you're not struggling with it. But yeah, if not, just take your time. Do what I did. Break it up into little parts. Remember, each piece, right? There was this piece here, this piece there, that piece there. Divide each piece by 2x, okay? So are we okay with this one? We're going to do one more like this, and then we'll move on to the ones that are a little more tricky, okay? So I have 2b to the fourth plus b cubed plus b squared divided by b squared. Okay. So again, I notice there's only one term that I'm dividing by. That's actually the key to this, knowing that there's only one term. It's not like x plus 3 or b squared minus 4. It's just b squared on the very back, right? So it's just one term. Since it's just one term, I can break this apart into 3 pieces because there's 3 terms in the first part. So I'm going to get 2b to the fourth, and I'm going to divide that by b squared. I'm going to get b to the third, and I'm going to divide that by b squared. And then I'm going to get b squared, and I'm going to divide that by b squared. Remember, we have 3 distinct pieces up here, right? We have 3 parts, so we're going to divide all 3 of those parts by b squared. Now, we only do this when you're dividing by a single term, so b squared, right? Or the one that we had before was a 2x, right? That's just one term. So as long as it's one term, you do it this way. All right, let's break it down here. So 2 divided by nothing is just 2. B to the fourth divided by b squared is b to the what? Second, yeah, because it's 4 minus 2, right? The power of 4 minus the power of 2. So 4 minus 2 is 2. All right. Now, b to the third over b squared doesn't have any numbers in the front, but b to the third divided by b squared will be b to the 1, which is just b, right? So, because 3 minus 2 is 1. All right. The last one, b squared divided by b squared, that's b to the 0, which is 1, right? Anything to the 0 power is just 1. So here are my answers. 2b squared, a b, and a 1. Notice none of them are negative. That means they're all going to be plus. So let me write that down. My answer is 2b squared plus b plus 1. So, I mean, easy, right? Not too bad. Not too bad. But then, obviously, we jump into something that's a little bit more tricky. We got 3 of these next types, okay? Because I really want to practice these with you guys. Because these are the ones that can be a little bit more difficult, okay? So, notice this one does not have just one term that we're dividing by. We're dividing by 2 terms, r minus 1. So for this one, we're going to have to use long division, okay? So we're going to have to use long division. So this is the way it's going to look. 3r squared minus 2r minus 2. And then on the outside, r minus 1. Okay? Now I'm going to do something just to remind you of how things worked when you were in, I don't know what grade you were in, 3rd, 4th grade? I don't know. But here we go. If I were to ask you to do this, you could, okay? But let's just talk about the process really quick. What you normally would do is you would ask yourself, how many times did the 2 on the outside go into the 2 on the inside, right? You look at the first numbers, right? So I always tell people, focus on the firsts, okay? Look at the first numbers. So you'd say, okay, well, 2 goes into 2 how many times? Once, right? And then what you would do is you would write that number right there. Why would you write that number? Well, because you multiplied it. You said 1 times 2 is 2, and you would write that number on the bottom. And then what would you do next? You would subtract, right? Well, 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, well, there's nothing there. So what was the next thing to do? What would you do now? You guys should know this. All right, bring down the 5, right? And then I do the same questioning. How many times does that 2 in the front go into that 5. So again, we're focusing on the first numbers that are being dropped right here. So 2 goes into 5 twice. And then 2 times 2 is 4. And then we subtract. That gives me a 1. And we drop the 6. Right? And then you ask yourself, how many times does 2 go into that 1? It doesn't. How about into the 16? It does. 8 times. Right? And then you'd say 8 times 2 is 16. You'd subtract, and you'd get a 0. This is what you guys used to do. Right? I don't know what grade. 4th grade, 5th grade. I have no idea when they do this with you guys. Okay? Maybe 3rd. I don't know. But the process is still the same. We're going to focus on the first terms. We're going to ask ourselves, how many times can this fit into that? Once we get that number or that letter, whatever it happens to be, we're going to multiply times that number or letter times the thing in the front and rewrite it on the bottom and subtract. And then we're just going to keep doing that same process, okay? So, yes, it's not numbers only, but it's the same idea. So, what I mean by the same idea is this. We're going to focus on the first terms only. Okay? How many times does r, or what do I multiply r by to get 3r squared? What should I multiply r by in order to get 3r squared? A 3r. Good. So what I'm supposed to do now is multiply it times the thing on the outside. So 3r times r, that's 3r squared. Those should match. If they don't match, you did something wrong, okay? And then 3r times negative 1, that's negative 3r. And then what am I supposed to do? According to, like, look on the right side. What am I supposed to do once I write something on the bottom? Subtract, right? Subtract. All right. 3r squared minus 3r squared? 0. Right? Negative 2r. Now, this part's kind of tricky. Negative 2r minus a negative 3r. Minus a negative. What does that mean? I'm adding. I'm adding up, right? Minus, so I'm doing negative 2r. Because remember, I already subtracted the first ones, right? Negative 2r minus negative 3r. That's plus 3r. So negative 2r plus 3r is r. Okay? And then what did I do usually? I had to drop down the next term. So bring down this minus 2. Okay, now focus again on the first terms. Okay, forget about this one up here now. Focus on that. What do I multiply r by to make it into r? 1, right? A positive, whoops, I don't want to use that. A positive 1. So now I'm going to multiply by the positive 1, not the 3r, just the positive 1 into those things. So 1 times r is r, and 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Okay? Now I subtract. R minus r, 0. Negative 2 minus negative 1, that's a what? Well, it's a 1, but it's negative 1. That's my remainder. Okay? So here's how you're going to write your answer. This number up here is called our quotient. That's your solution. Okay? So I'm going to write it out, 3r plus 1. I'm going to put in a parenthesis just to separate it from the remainder. 3r plus 1. The remainder is a minus 1, right? Minus 1. But the remainder, when you write it properly, it's the remainder divided by what you were dividing by, the r minus 1. So you're going to put divided by r minus 1. And there you go. This is my solution to this problem. It's the same process you've always done. It just looks weird because we're doing it with expressions, not with just numbers. Okay? But you're still going to say this times what is this, right? And then once you get it, you multiply it out, and then you write it on the bottom, and you subtract. Whatever's left over, you drop stuff down. Okay, this times what is this, right? We're always doing the same pattern over and over again. Okay, it just looks different, but it's the same process that you've known. Okay, so we have two more of these that I want to do with you guys, because I want to make sure you see it enough times to be like, okay, I get it. And hopefully I can do it, because I know we only have till 10:24, so we got like 16 minutes. So let's see. So 3n cubed plus 8n squared minus 5n minus 9 divided by 3n plus 2. So notice two terms. I'm dividing by two terms. That means I can't split it apart and make it simple. Not like the first two examples. Okay? This requires long division. Okay? So remember, you're going to want to kind of build that little house here where your big expression is going to be in 3n cubed plus 8n squared minus 5n minus 9. And on the outside would be a 3n plus 2. So the main question I want to ask myself when I do this is, how many times does 3n fit into 3n cubed? So 3n times what is 3n cubed? Sorry? N to the, not just one, n to the second. Yeah, n squared. N squared. Because 3n times n squared will give me 3n cubed. Now let me multiply that. Okay, that's multiplying right here. So n squared times 3n will be 3n cubed. Remember, you want it to match. That means you're doing something right. Okay. Then the next term doesn't have to, though. N squared times 2, that's positive 2n squared. And I'm going to put a line there and put subtraction. 3n cubed minus 3n cubed should cancel, which it does. 8n squared minus 2n squared. That's 6n squared. Now drop the next number. Minus 5n. Okay, why do I drop the next numbers? Because I'm dividing by two terms. I got to have two terms there. Okay? So, now let me erase this little highlight on the first one. I'm going to focus on the first term here. 3n times what is 6n squared? 2 what? Not 2n squared, just 2n, right? So I'm going to put 2n, positive 2n. And now I'm going to multiply again, but just by the 2n, okay? Just by the 2n. Not the n squared plus 2n, just 2n. So 2n times 3n, that's 6n squared. Notice they match, that's good. 2n times 2, positive 4n. And I'm going to subtract. All right, 6n squared minus 6n squared. 0. That's what's supposed to happen, okay? If you're not getting that, you messed up somewhere, okay? They should match and they should cancel immediately. Now the next terms, negative 5n minus 4n. Negative 9n. Okay? And I'm going to drop this last piece, minus 9. Now let me erase the little highlighted area up here, because now I'm focusing, this is my last repetition of this, on those first terms. Okay? So, 3n times what is negative 9n? 3 is right, but negative 3, right? They got to match. 3n times a negative 3 would give me a negative 9n. So negative 3. So I'm going to get only the negative 3. Okay? And put that into multiplication of that term. Okay? So negative 3 times 3n is negative 9n. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Okay, now I'm going to subtract. Negative 9n minus a negative 9n. That really means plus. So negative 9n plus 9n, 0. Negative 9 minus negative 6. It's a 3, but is it positive or negative? It's negative. And I'm done. Okay? My answer is up here. That's my solution. But then I got a remainder of minus 3. So here's how you're going to write your answer. You're going to put, I'm going to put right here, n squared plus 2n minus 3. That's my answer. And then my remainder is a minus 3 over, what do I put it over? 3n plus 2. And that's my solution. All right. So, last one. So 4x cubed minus 8x squared plus 5x minus 5 divided by 2x minus 3. So we're going to take this, do long division. I know it's long division because it's a 2x minus 3. It's not just 2x. It's not just minus 3. It's two terms. Once you get two terms, you got to do long division. Okay? So here we go. We'll try to do this one a little bit faster. So 4x cubed minus 8x squared plus 5x minus 5. And on the outside will be 2x minus 3. I got 9 minutes, so I should be able to do this. All right. So remember, you're focusing on the first terms, right? The 4x cubed and the 2x. 2x times what is 4x cubed? What do I multiply 2x times to get 4x cubed? 2x squared. Good. So 2x squared. Now I'm going to multiply that times those two terms. So that's going to give me 4x cubed minus 6x squared. And I get to subtract. Again, they match in the front. That's good. When I subtract them, they cancel. Perfect. Negative 8x squared minus negative 6x squared is a negative 2x squared. And then drop the 5x plus 5x. Okay. Now I'm going to focus on the first terms that I just wrote out, the negative 2x squared and the 2x. Okay? So 2x times what is negative 2x squared? So what do I multiply 2x to make it look like negative 2x squared? A negative what? X. Yeah, just a negative x. So let's get this negative x. We're going to multiply that times both of these things right there. So that gives me negative 2x squared, and negative x times a negative 3 is a positive 3x, and I subtract. The first terms are going to cancel, right? Negative 2x squared minus a negative 2x squared, that's 0. 5x minus 3x, 2x. Minus 5 has to drop. By the way, if a remainder is 0, you just don't write a remainder at all. Okay, just write your answer. But, all right, one more time. Because I still don't have a remainder. I have two terms left. So, I'm going to focus on these two terms right here. 2x and 2x. So 2x times what is 2x? 1. So plus 1. I multiply positive 1 times both of these. Okay, so that comes out to 2x minus 3. And I subtract. So what's my result? The 2x minus 2x is 0. Negative 5 minus negative 3. What do I get? Negative 2. Awesome. There we go. We got our remainder. Right? Well, good. So write your answer. This is your answer up here, okay? And then you got to put your remainder in. So my answer is 2x squared minus x plus 1 minus 2 over 2x minus 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, on your homework, let me double check. They're not going to tell you how to write it, but sometimes you'll see, like on multiple choice tests, they don't put the parentheses. It'll just look like that. Okay? Just know that that fraction is your remainder. Okay? But a lot of tests do put this in there for you. So it depends on which one you're looking at. Okay? So this is what your homework is going to be like, guys. It's long division.